Is this what happens at Atomberg every day? It just brings up your worst stories and your worst moments.
It's the same set of players who just transformed. So what happened? Walk us through that journey, 2015, 16, 17.
Here you are, he's doing it again, remembering the name.
Of course, I think the semis you hammered Aussies.
No, all I want to do is mention one thing, Australia. We hammered them.
We have a legendary captain amongst us, someone who personifies the why not attitude of questioning status quo, of taking bold bets and ruthless and brilliant execution. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one and only Eoin Morgan. Your journey is very unique. You started off playing for Ireland. You are an Irishman, moved to Middlesex at a very early stage. How was the switch to England? How did that happen?
Yeah, so I grew up in the capital city of Ireland, Dublin, about 45 minutes outside of the main centre. If you were to go back 200 years ago in Ireland, cricket was the #1 sport. As 13, 14, 15, I played all the age groups. I was the youngest ever cricketer to play for Ireland at 16. That was the year that I signed professionally for Middlesex. So as a 16-year-old kid, I packed my bags and moved to London and was lucky enough to call Lords my home ground. The dream was to play for England. The bit in between was the noise outside. So keeping the noise at bay. So logically, Ireland was a village team. They played against village clubs. They didn't play any professional games. All of the players were amateur. We had a postman, a bricklayer, we had a taxi driver, we had a mechanic. He was a mechanic for a local tractor company. So when we played in World Cups...
These are the people who represented them in the World Cup. And I think it was just before the 2015 World Cup when you were, all of a sudden they sacked Cook and you were made the captain. And you had a humiliating campaign. I still remember that match when it was at Christchurch or Auckland and Baz scored that 77 of 25 and you had Saudi or Bolt taking 6-7 wickets and the match was over in 10 overs. And post that you also lost to Bangladesh and went out. How did it feel on the way back from Australia?
Is this what happens at Atomberg every day? It just brings up your worst stories and your worst moments. No, I'm joking, of course. It's actually a vital part, not only in my career, but my leadership story, my captaincy story. So, again, one of the best ways of describing how bad England cricket were at that stage. So you can go through the rankings. Out of the 10 major nations in the world, we were ranked number 7, which isn't great, obviously, particularly when you're well-funded, well-structured, and your country is called England. So your reputation sort of is quite tarnished. But the bit that gets me every time, and I love it, you always know how bad England were in 2015 because the phone call they made to make the next captain was to an Irishman. I was given the captaincy about a month before the tournament, and trying to implement change and significant change in that short period of time was impossible. Absolutely impossible. You can't be vulnerable without wanting to grow or without wanting to get better as a team or as a sports person. And that was something that I recognized within opposition sides. So coming out of that World Cup after the humiliation, I was actually lucky in many ways not to be a scapegoat and to be kept on as captain. One thing it did allow me to do was implement all these lessons that I was learning from other teams, from one of my best friends who was captain of New Zealand at the time, Brendan McCullum, the attitude, the embodiment, the clear messaging. And then if the outside noise came at any stage, that was your signal as a leader, to put the umbrella up, to try and protect your team and to reinforce exactly what you're trying to do. That structure underneath became so vital. So post that World Cup, we set up a structure, we built trust, we communicated that messaging, what we were trying to achieve, and then went on the start of a great journey.
No, I think that's a huge lesson that as a leader, if you're able to give psychological safety to your people, the trust will come automatically, and it's the same team, right? It's the same set of players who just transformed. So what happened? Like, walk us through that journey, 2015, 16, 17. And it is not that you saw success at the first time. We all remember 2016, remember the name Carlos Braithwaite, when Stokes got hit.
Here you are, he's doing it again. Remember the name. I couldn't sleep remembering the name.
So your input started coming, but the output came 4 years later. So talk us through that journey.
So the beginning of it was the most vital part. So trying to set up the structure of what a good team looked like. And it was easy to see what a bad team looked like because I'd played in one for so long. So what does a bad team do? It undermines any messaging that is communicated. It lacks trust because anybody that comes in and doesn't do well in a short period of time is replaced and somebody else comes in the same role. So we wanted to create, one, that messaging, where are we going and what we wanted to do. It was quite easy. 2019 was our target. We wanted to win a home World Cup on home soil, which had never been done for an England side in the history of the game.
No, I think that's a big lesson for us, that sometimes results take time. And I think once we are like, and anyways, we have also been playing the long game at Atomberg. It's been 13 years, and sometimes when you play the long game, the focus on relentless improvement on inputs, on the things that you can control, if you do it for a very long time, I think there's a very good chance the results will be in your favor.
And Carlos Braithwaite did something that he had never done in his life before. So Carlos had never hit consecutive sixes for his club team in Barbados. Carlos had never hit consecutive sixes for Barbados. Carlos had never hit consecutive sixes for the West Indies. So this is in a World Cup final, needing to hit at least 3 off one of our best bowlers. And the first 4 balls are 4 of the biggest sixes you've ever seen in your life. Ben Stokes would not come back from that situation if it wasn't for the growth mindset and attitude that he'd shown in the lead into that tournament. If he was a purely outlook focused player, he might never have bowled in a white ball game again.
I think lots of leadership lessons in the last 5 minutes that you spoke about this journey.
We can't leave out the semi-final.
Of course, I think the semis you hammered Aussies.
No, all I want to do is mention one thing, Australia. We hammered them. No lessons there.
And then the final, right? So again, handling pressure. So
we're not going to talk about the other semi-final.
No, you hammered the Aussies.
No, the other one.
Or the India one. I think that was a heartbreak for a lot of us.
We can't talk about.
So I think 2019 we put it in our office. I think it was a 2-day match.
The
first day, I think if not for rains, we would have won the World Cup. But yeah, that's for another day. I think. Coming back to the final, right? So again, so you lost 3-4 wickets early, and I think that was that Butler and Stokes partnership that moved. And I think in the last 3 overs, again, you needed some 30-odd runs. And I don't think that was a very easy Lord's wicket. It was 2-paced, and I think New Zealand had Bolt and all those bowlers were there, right, who were like very good at taking the pace of the ball and all of those. So walk us through that last over, what happened in the last over and also the super over. And what was Ben Stokes like? I think he was operating in a different way. I think that's a different level altogether. And it was the same Ben Stokes whom Carlos Braithwaite had hit for 4 sixes 3 years back in a similar kind of high pressure, high stakes situation.
Ben, alongside MS Dhoni, the two of them gravitate towards it. And it doesn't matter what the total is, it doesn't matter what the challenge is. Their belief is that if I put myself in that situation in the game, I believe that I will get my team over the line. And that is incredible, because the difference between being a great player and being a genius is a great player says, I'm going to score 10,000 runs, goes and scores it. A genius sees something that nobody else sees and goes and achieves it. And for me, Ben has that attribute, and so does MS Dhoni. So in the lead into that World Cup, Ben had been at the business end of every situation that we found themselves in.
No, I think, and that must have been very satisfying. The final celebration and all those things that followed. I think you got that result after 4 years of a lot of hard work. And I think the good thing is the legacy has been continued. So I think England is no longer a timid. I think that's a permanent transformation that has happened. I think Josh took over from you. You guys won another World Cup in Australia, and England continues to remain a dominant force in white ball cricket. Thank you, Eoin, for sharing so openly. I think lots of takeaways for us as we move into our next phase of growth. And thank you for making the time here, and we really enjoyed it. Got lots of lessons for us to take. Here once again for Eoin Morgan.